You know the name Doug Poppa?
Yes, I do. God bless Doug Poppa, an honest cop.
I was elated, of course, but then as he testified, I was somewhat concerned for him, because I knew that they were probably going to crucify that man.
The top cop who put his badge on the line for justice.
Sometimes the truth has a price. That may be the lesson of a Virginia police officer who says, in trying to do the right thing, he ended up paying for it. Of one man who confronted truth and consequences.
From Las Vegas, Nevada, this is the Truth and Consequences podcast with Doug Poppa.
October 27th, a man and woman found shot to death inside their apartment on Wallapai and Peace Way, later identified as 21-year-old Sydney Land and her boyfriend, 20-year-old Nehemiah Kauffman.
This one was basically an assassination execution, of two very young people.
Metro Homicide Lieutenant Dan McGrath
pointed to a guy named Shane Valentine.
Everything looked like Shane Valentine may have been our guy.
And was revenge his motive? Cops say Valentine had a beef with Neo and had taken action before.
Shane Valentine actually went over to Neo's mother's house, fired a round into the window, broke out a couple of windows, and rammed his car into the parking garage door as he threatened to cause harm to Neo and his family.
The incident happened 3 weeks before the murders. Then damning evidence from the bloody night of the shooting surfaces.
They could ping his cell phone in the tower in that area about the time of the murder, and then he was in California the next morning.
Cops kept an eye on Valentine, but couldn't directly link him through DNA to the shootings.
Although it appears that he may not have been the shooter, the possibility remains that he was aware of what was going to happen or what was happened immediately thereafter.
Valentine was convicted and is doing time in Nevada for shooting up Neo's mom's house. He's still a person of interest. Behind the walls of that apartment lay the blood-drenched bodies of Sydney and Neo, both shot in the head at close range. Was there DNA found?
There were several items that contained DNA evidence. Now, the problem is these people had a lot of friends, a lot of associates, a lot of people that hung out at the apartment complex with them. So sorting through all the details of what was relevant and what's not has been a challenge. I mean, when I refer to DNA, there's cigarette butts everywhere, and the ashtrays full of stuff. There's drink cups everywhere. So you talk about DNA being in the apartment. There's all kinds of stuff, So who knows what was supposed to be there and what wasn't supposed to be there.
We have not ruled out Shane Valentine as a suspect. We are still looking at him as a person of interest in this case.
Welcome, folks. This is episode 83. For Sunday, January 16th, 2022. On Thursday, January 13th, Alethea Kauffman gave me an exclusive interview. Alethea is the mother of Nehemiah Kauffman, one of the victims in the now over 5-year-old unsolved Land Kauffman murders. Nehemiah Kauffman and his girlfriend, Sydney Land, were both found shot in the head, execution style, in their southwest Las Vegas apartment on October 27, 2016. As many of you know, I authored over 24 articles related to the Land Kauffman murders when I was writing for the Baltimore Post-Examiner, and I've continued to cover these murders on my podcast since 2020. You may remember that then Las Vegas Justice Court Judge Melanie Andrus Tobiasen stated during a May 2018 interview with me that the police had all the evidence to make arrests in the case, that 3 persons committed the murders, and that there is a cover-up in the case, and that the police probably destroyed evidence. Tobiasen also said that it was her and her daughter who were meant to be killed, not Sydney Land and Nehemiah Kauffman, and that the murders happened as a result of Tobiasen being outed by a vice detective as a source of information to a Las Vegas Metro police officer and his daughter 8 hours before the murders occurred. For those of you not familiar with my investigative work on the Land Kauffman murders, I will have links to several podcasts on this subject in the description section of this video. The Crime Watch Daily excerpts you saw at the opening of this episode were aired on national television in April of 2018. Investigative techniques may have changed since I was on the job, because I cannot understand why the Las Vegas Metro Police agreed to appear on the show only 18 months after the Unsolved murders and openly discuss DNA evidence, the suspect in the case, and release crime scene photographs, including a photograph of Sidney Land's body. In my opinion, it was an abomination and appeared to be an intentional act to destroy the integrity of the criminal investigation. Now, here is my exclusive interview with Alethea Kauffman. I will have closing comments afterward. This is Doug Poppa, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Truth and Consequences with Doug Poppa. The date is Thursday, January 13th, 2022, and the time is 18:35 hours. That is 6:35 p.m. Las Vegas time. On the line with me is Alethea Kauffman, who is the mother of Nehemiah Kauffman, one of the victims in the now 5-year-old unsolved 2016 Land Kauffman double homicide. Mrs. Kauffman,
yes, sir.
You told me around September of 2021, you had a meeting at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department with homicide detective Mitchell Dorsch and a sergeant. Can you tell me what occurred during that meeting?
It was a smoke screen, to be honest with you.
What did Detective Dorsch tell you about the crime scene in Sidney's apartment when the crime scene analysts were in there?
One crime scene analyst was let go because of the simple fact that it was compromised.
And how do you say the crime scene was compromised? How do you say it was compromised?
It was compromised because the man was not wearing gloves and was touching a wall that had, DNA evidence upon the wall.
Okay. Did he say this was a male or female crime scene analyst?
It was a male.
And did he tell you what the outcome of that was? Is this person still employed with the police department? Did he tell you anything like that?
No, they're not. They're no longer employed with the Metro Homicide Crime Scene Analyst Department. Not only that he told me, another thing he told me was that the fact that they let him go and they had to have high-ranking officials removed from the crime scene when their bodies were found.
Wow. So Detective Dorsch told you that there were high-ranking Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department officials inside the crime scene, and they shouldn't have been in there. They had to ask them to leave.
Yes.
Wow. Unbelievable.
That's the first time I've ever heard that in 5 years.
Mrs. Kauffman, when you were in this meeting, who was present in the room when this meeting was going on between Detective Dorsch and the sergeant was sitting there and you? Who else was in the room with you?
My mother, and then I had two brothers that were on a conference call, FaceTime from Facebook Media, from FaceTime off of iPhones. So they were there. So there was four of us, with the detective and with the sergeant.
Okay. Do you remember the sergeant's name who was in there?
No, I cannot remember. I could see his face so clearly, but no, I can't remember his name.
Okay. Was homicide detective, the other homicide detective involved in the case, did he come into the room later on? Grimmett?
Which one? Grimmett came in 30 minutes before I left.
Okay.
At the very end.
Okay. But when these comments were made to you about the crime scene analyst compromising the crime scene, the ones from the police department who were in there...
That was at the very beginning of the meeting. Very beginning.
And that was with Detective Dorsch and a sergeant? Okay. Okay. I want to do one more thing. I want to take you back to October 8th of 2016, when we know that Shane Valentine fired a round from outside the house into your bedroom.
More than one round. Oh my God.
Excuse me?
It was more than one round. That's the thing that bothers me the most with Metro, because it was just more than one round that the man fired off into my home, into my room.
Okay.
So I have a problem with that.
When that happened that night, there was crime scene analysts at the scene, and I already covered this in a previous podcast where they removed the boulder that Shane Valentine threw at the house, pieces of his car. When he tried to ram his car into your garage door, they picked up the pieces.
Yeah, he did.
Did the crime scene analyst that night remove the bullet or bullets from inside your home, from the wall or the ceiling?
My bullets weren't removed from my home until October 29th of 2016.
Which was after the murders.
Removed from my house on my son's birthday on October 8th. No.
And that was after the murders. Sydney and Nehemiah's bodies were found on
after they were found. Yes.
On October 27th, and then it was a day or two later. I covered this in another podcast when I talked about it, where Dorsch came back with another crime scene analyst to take the bullet out at that time.
Yeah, they recovered stuff out of my crawl space, out of my attic and everything from when the bullets went through. Yes.
Okay, but on the morning of October 8th, 2016, when Shane Valentine...
Nothing was taken out.
They never took the bullet out of the house, the bullets.
The only thing they took from the crime scene was the emblem from the rental car that he had, and that was it. That was all. Then when he rammed his car into my garage.
Okay. I'm going to give you some free time here. If you make any comment you want about the unsolved murders of your son and Sydney Land, anything you want to express, anything you want to say, you have the mic. Go ahead and say whatever you want to say, Alethea.
I just want justice for my baby, for this young lady. Like, seriously. Her mother and I are forever bonded in a sisterhood that we'd rather become bonded in as our children get married and, natural progressions, not this way.
Right.
We've been going through this for 5 years and no peace. And it's hard. It's really hard. And I've tried to do things the right way that I could possibly do and try to give them the benefit of the doubt. But at this point, I'm over it.
Okay. Well, my condolences on the loss of your son. My concern right now is to find out why this homicide investigation is unsolved after over 5 years.
Because they're corrupt. That's why. No, I'm just going to say it. No, I don't give zero fucks who hears it. It's corruption. Everything that I've looked at online and things that I've looked at for past, cold cases and homicide investigations and different things, this shit is corruption. Point blank, period. Okay. And now it's time for it to be brought forward and brought to the light.
Well, I'm going to bring it to the light because this is going to be published in a podcast because I've been working on this for since 2019.
I know you have.
Consistently.
A long time.
Yeah, and
I know you have.
This is very troubling to me as a former detective criminal investigator that on a double homicide investigation, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department compromised the crime scene. Not only with the crime scene analysts, but people who were in the crime scene, whether they were high-ranking officials or not, that had no business even being in the apartment, which makes it even worse than the first thing is.
Makes it worse. I mean, they're the ones who said this to me, so I don't understand why they say it to me, because I would never know, because I never showed up to the crime scene, because I already knew what it was going to be for me on my end, on my part. I'd have got arrested. So the only thing I wanted to do is get to my child.
Right.
I knew my child was gone. I had all these people in front of my house, all these kids. I just, the whole shit is just like, no. And now, 5 years later, going on 6 years, like, no, I'm not, Connie and I can't sit here and keep going through this and wait 30 years, 20 years, 25 years. I don't give zero fucks at the end of the day. Right is right and wrong is wrong.
Right. No, I agree with you.
And I'm so over it. You know what I'm saying? And how everybody want to make her so crazy, and she's talking about things. She's been dead on shit.
You're talking about Connie Land, Sydney's mother.
Yes, I'm so talking about Connie Land. That woman is my sister for life, and I love her to death. You know what I'm saying? And ever since day one, since our kids were murdered, I always used to ask Metro about how she was doing, her family and everybody, because I was just so worried about how their family was doing. And then was just always trying to make it seem like it was something else. From day one. This lady and I want the same thing, justice for our children. And no other family have to go through this shit. Point blank, period. At the end of the fucking day, we have kids that should be our children's age and doing milestones that our older children will never ever fucking do.
Yeah.
That's God honest truth. I wake up every morning to my son's ashes, kiss his ashes every night, kiss his ashes every morning, and talk to my son every morning. You know what I'm saying? When she goes to that cemetery and talks to her daughter, that's what it is. You're never gonna get that back.
Right. Well,
and people don't get that.
Yeah, it's there's no words anybody could say. There's no words I can say. I did this when I was a police officer, but what makes it worse here is October of last year was 5 years, and this murder is unsolved. There was a lot of allegations that came out, even with now retired Judge Melanie Andres Tobiasen, who resigned last year. There's a lot of things that were wrong with this case, a lot of allegations of corruption, misconduct in this case, cover-ups, which still has to be proven, but there were a lot of statements that were made. But to compromise a crime scene on any murder case, let alone a double homicide, it's unfathomable. It's so troubling. There's no words for it. And they told you that that's what happened. And it's and I could see now why things that happened after that I covered in some previous podcasts, why certain statements were made by the homicide detectives on crime shows and in text messages to Mrs. Land. I can now understand why, because of the homicide crime scene, it was compromised. Just what you told me. It's extremely troubling.
It's beyond compromise. Like when I'm sitting there and I have to listen to people give recounts and different things, and I'm just like, well, wait a minute, like absolutely not. I'm like, no, like I don't understand it. If you guys can solve murders and different things, I mean, from murders from other states, are you dead ass serious?
Right. Did anybody I don't mean to interrupt you, but did anybody from the police department ever tell you not to talk to me at any time?
I've had people tell me not to talk to you guys all the time. I'm just being serious with you. Don't talk to you guys. Don't entertain this. This is what it is. Da, 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 da. You know, so no, I'm past that point because I can't see myself going another 5 fucking years without my son getting some type of justice about my son and this beautiful young lady. Like, absolutely not. I met her. I've been around her. Beautiful. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I get it. I'm starting to see the light on why things turned out the way they did after 5 years. This is what you just told me was.
The fact is they're sitting there trying to turn Connie and I against each other since day one. I don't understand it, because ever since I found out that my son. Okay, when my son was killed, I didn't know there was another person killed with him. And when I found that, I was like, oh my God.
Okay.
To me, I always would ask about how their family's doing. My family and I will always ask because, like, we would just hurt behind it. Like, what the fuck is going on? And nobody can tell us anything.
Yeah, what you just told me here
The
tonight.
apartment complex 4 months after our kids were killed. No. Nobody can tell me nothing about that. I went there to go see for myself.
Okay.
My son and I went to go see for ourselves.
One more thing I want to cover here is, I talked about it before. They said that what was found outside the apartment complex that they think was connected to inside the crime scene. You said they found something outside the house?
Yeah, they did.
What was it?
Weed.
A bag of marijuana?
It was weed. Yeah, marijuana, whatever you all want to call it. Weed, marijuana, whatever. Smoke, gas, whatever you all want to call it.
And it was found outside Sydney and Neil's apartment.
It was found a building away, yes.
And how did they link that was something that happened?
Because it was the same type of packaging that was found in my son's hand when he had a bullet in the back of his head.
Did they say anything about whether that bag that was found outside the crime scene was analyzed?
They didn't analyze it.
They didn't analyze it?
They told me that. Nope.
Why?
Because they were like, well, they just decided not to test it. And I was just like, oh, okay.
And who told you? Who told you this? Who told you it wasn't analyzed? Grimmett told you? Mm-hmm. Detective Jared Grimmett, the homicide detective, one of the homicide detectives working the case.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you who the fuck I sat down and talked to. I know who I sit down and I talk to. Because I'm not the one that be on TV because I put my shit out on there like it's the shit to do.
Right. Right.
I'm the type of person, I'm not going to show you my hand. I'm going to see what y'all bring to the table to me first. I'm not that type of woman.
Right.
Never been. So I'm just like, oh, okay, bet.
Okay. All right.
So you're telling me you guys can only test 10 things for DNA. I'm just sitting there looking at them like, are you dead ass?
Okay, I want to cover that. Good thing you brought that up. Say that again. What did he tell you, that they were only allowed to test certain items?
They can only test 10 things of DNA.
So Detective Grimmett told you that they only analyzed 10 items.
Oh, no. It was Dosh. They came out of Dosh's mouth.
Dosh told you, Mitchell Dosh, homicide detective working your son's and Sydney's murder with his partner Grimmett, told you that they could only analyze up to 10 items from inside the crime scene. Is that what he told you?
Most death. Yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you something, Mrs. Kauffman. That is a bunch of BS.
Well, that's what they fucking told me, so that's what the fuck I'm telling you.
Yeah. In a homicide investigation, when you find evidence that may have DNA on it, cigarette butts, soda cans, glasses, whatever you find at the crime scene that can be analyzed for fingerprints or DNA, everything is submitted to the lab. There should be no limit on it. And I know for a fact there is no limit on a homicide investigation for submission of evidence in the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department unless they change the policy. It's the most unheard thing I ever heard of in my life, that they only allow...
I'm telling you right now, on my dead-ass son, that, yeah, that's what I was told. To my face. Okay?
Wow. Unbelievable.
I'm sitting across the table from people. So nobody can tell me what I've been told. I ain't gonna sit here and blow smoke up my ass, blow smoke up nobody's ass about what's going on or the situation with the whole fucking shit. Because at the end of the day, that's what the fuck I was told.
Wow. Unbelievable. I've never heard anything like this in my life. And I spent almost 18 years in law enforcement as a...
I believe you. No, I'm not telling you that I don't believe you. I believe you. Trust me, but I'm just telling you what I was told and what I was said to my face and everybody else that was sitting there with me at that table. I don't give a fuck if they were, video call from Chicago. I give zero fucks at the end of the day. This is what we were told.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, bet.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay.
Wow.
I haven't talked to the media. I haven't done anything behind nobody's back. I haven't tried to nothing. So this is what the fuck it is.
Wow. Okay, Alethea, I appreciate it, and it's these revelations are they're beyond extremely troubling, and
extremely troubling is not the word. It's been extremely troubling since day one. But I, sit there and like, the police are gonna do their due diligence and work this shit out. And they didn't.
Yeah.
And you got the Rand family and the Kauffman family sitting up here with no answers, no justice, no peace, no nothing. 5 years later.
Right.
I wake up looking at my son's ashes every morning and kissing his ashes every morning and kissing his ashes every night when I go to bed. That's the totality and the gravity of my situation right now.
Right.
Like, I've been through a lot of shit since my son has been killed. A lot of shit. And it's just like, wow, I cannot believe this shit. It's just disrespect on top of disrespect.
Yeah. That's the
and it's no, I'm proud of myself that I hold myself the way that I do. But at the same time, it's just like, I don't want anybody else's family to have to go through this shit with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department or anybody else, because it's a bunch of bullshit. What Connie goes through, what I go through, it's a bunch of bullshit. Nobody should have to go through that. Period.
I have no words, Mrs. Kauffman. I got no words at all. I think I think it's a disgrace. It's beyond a disgrace. From me being a former cop, I've never heard anything like this before, and it's extremely troubling that I just have no words for it. It's I can't comprehend it. It's
well, no, I can tell you this much. I can tell you this much. That they feel some type of way about you, but you bringing it to the light, which I get. They feel some type of way about that, but I'm just like, well, the truth always prevails.
Yep, that's true. You're absolutely right.
And I don't, like Connie and I talked about, we don't want any other families having to go through the shit that we've gone through. This has been 5 years of a struggle. 5 years of a long-ass motherfucking struggle. And we still have no fucking closure at the end of the day. That's so sad. And we have to fight every day or push through for our children and for ourselves, because you have to try to find some type of normalcy to get through. But there isn't.
Right.
A 21-year-old and a 20-year-old cut out? Like, how can anybody try to justify that?
Right.
There's no man, no woman can ever fucking justify to me why they took Sydney and Nehemiah away from us. And I promise you that. And I hope if anybody is ever brought to justice, I promise you this. I hope they get the death penalty, 2 capital counts of murder, and then you get the death penalty. And I'm going to watch you get that. I'm not going to feel sorry for you. You never felt sorry for our kids.
Right.
Our kids never got a choice. You guys snuffed them out like it was nothing and left them in that apartment like a piece of trash. That's fact. Nobody could ever argue with me or Connie about that shit.
Well, your anger is justified. Nobody could say anything on that. That's it's been over 5 years, and there's been no movement on this case. And like I said,
they're not going to try to do any movement on it because they just try to pacify shit to, make themselves look better or feel better. It's just not. If there's corruption going on, it needs to be exposed. And there is corruption going on. Connie was never off on her stuff that she was saying. And I believe that. I firmly believe that. I really do. On everything I love. That woman was on to everything. Yeah, most deaf.
And I just have no words. Listen, we're going to talk again. I'm going to, it's 7 o'clock Thursday night, January 13th, and I've been on the phone with Alethea Kauffman, Nehemiah Kauffman's mom. Nehemiah and Sydney Land were killed in their apartment October of 2016, and their bodies were found October 27th. And that's who's been on the phone with me, Alethea Kauffman. I appreciate what you told me, Alethea, and and we'll talk again. Okay?
Most definitely.
And now my closing comments. I don't have any words to describe what I just heard. Unbelievable. I don't even know what to say. Let's recap what Alethea Kauffman was told. A crime scene analyst compromised the integrity of a double homicide crime scene. B, high-ranking police officials were inside the apartment, thus compromising the crime scene and were told to leave. C, a bag of marijuana similar to what was found in Nehemiah Kauffman's hand was found outside near another building in the complex and was never analyzed for DNA and/or fingerprints. D, homicide detective Mitchell Dorsch told Alethea that they can only submit 10 items from a homicide crime scene for analysis. Really? Only 10 items from a double homicide crime scene can be sent to the lab? Bullshit. A single homicide crime scene could have hundreds of items that need to be tested for DNA analysis, fingerprints, and others. I would like to know what the Las Vegas Metro Police did with the rest of the evidence they collected at the crime scene that was never analyzed. Throw it in the trash? What do they do? Pick and choose what cigarette butts, cups, etc. would be sent for analysis? Everything gets analyzed, folks, because it may lead to the identity of who was inside the apartment at any time before and/or during the murders. Regardless of what Detective Jared Grimmett stated on the Crime Watch Daily Show, all evidence found at the scene of any homicide is relevant. That's crime scene preservation and collection 101, folks. The stuff I just heard is it's mind-boggling. Upcoming episodes will continue to focus on the unsolved Land Kauffman double murders and much more. Remember to subscribe to the channel by hitting the red subscribe button and support my independent investigative journalism at paypal.me/Doug Poppa. Thanks for listening.